Did any of your travels take you to places like Montana or
Yeah.
I don't know? Well, obviously you've been in
Nebraska.
Wisconsin. Nebraska seems to be in play. Like, where else is there, potential? I mean, Texas, I guess. Is there any other potential losses for Democrats outside of, let's say, Tester, or I don't know, maybe in Wisconsin? I haven't heard as much in the past couple of weeks about that, but Tammy Baldwin, there was some concern maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. What's your sense of this?
Yes, there is a chance of a big Republican victory. That's if you just move all the polls 3 points toward Republicans, then they would have 55 Senate seats, and that would change a lot of things. It'd be very tough for Democrats to argue in 2026 that we can take the Senate back. If you look where it is, they would struggle to get the Senate majority back for quite a long time. Now they were down 55 seats after 2004, and they had 60 seats in 2008. But remember, that majority was built out of winning both seats in North Dakota, etc. Just a very different map. Red state Democrats were a lot stronger. But what Republicans hope would happen is that everything is underrating them slightly in the Midwest, so that they would win. They'll win Ohio, which they were confident about 2 weeks ago, and now they're like 50-50 on it. That they'd win Pennsylvania and they'd win Wisconsin. Those states would get them to 54 votes. There is optimism that I mentioned Nevada and how they were trying to read the early voting there. Optimism that Nevada or Arizona has been moving in their direction, and there's enough voters who will just going to vote Republican down the ballot that they will beat Jackie Rosen or they'll beat Ruben Gallego. That's how they see the map. You don't from Republicans and from Democrats see the same something wild's going to happen and it's going to shift in our direction. We're going to win. Because I interviewed Dan Osborne fairly early in Nebraska, but I didn't get out there myself. With that race, they're not counting on that. They're not counting on Texas. They're not counting on Florida. Their narrow best case scenario is that Tester holds on and they don't lose the Senate while Harris wins the presidency, because everyone's written off West Virginia. They just know that Jim Justice was going to win there. Right. But I hear Republicans speculating more about what would happen if we win 55 seats than I hear Democrats saying, what if we expand the majority? They just don't think, not that they've done anything wrong. I mean, this has been, every cycle is the new super PAC cycle, but this one's insane. This one you've got in all these races. 10 years ago, Republicans would have just pulled up stakes and given up on Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. And this time it was, well, what if we spend $100 million more from super PACs in these states? With that money, that has changed everything. The last time these Democrats were on the ballot, it wasn't just a decent midterm year. It was that they did not have this much money coming out and canceling all their small donors.
Interesting. So this is like the Republicans continue to play in fields where in the past they just couldn't afford to, and they would just cut their losses.
That's what happened in 12 and what happened in 18. I maybe over-indexed the Ohio stuff because that's where I spent the end of 2012, and you definitely saw with Brown, PAC kept spending money to beat him there, but he clearly never was behind. He always had separation from moving Obama. He was always on track to win, and that was seen as this insane dumping of resources by super PACs that were unaccountable, and it was like $18 million. Now we're up. It's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars that were spent in Ohio, and Democrats matched it. They have their own super PACs, but their response has always been, we hate this system. Luckily, we have enough billionaires who will fund these super PACs so we can match it. But the entire Republican strategy, their candidate in Ohio, who was personally very wealthy, barely raised anything. He just was counting on outside PACs to run his ads for him. Crypto through the Fair Shake PAC, the completely fake crypto voter movement that they represent, that's going to have spent at least $40 million against Sherrod Brown. And that's more than was spent against him in his last two elections, actually, in 12 or in 18. Because Republicans in 18, they said, well, he's up by a lot. We're going to win everything else down ballot, but can't quite knock him out. And this cycle, they say, oh, well, Miriam Adelson, I should say, the widow, gave us $100 million to just spend some of it there.
What about the House and tie in that notion of Trump campaigning in New Mexico and Virginia? Like what?
And
like,
does he really care that much? Like, or is it just that he can't? I mean, I know your theory, Sam, is like he needs the House if they're going to, like, if he wants to take the election, or if there's going to be investigations against him, right? But I don't want to overstate your theory, but he's also extremely self-interested and has never seemed to care about Republicans' prospects down ballot, though.
Yes, he has campaigned with people, but I mean, we went in Virginia, for example, is to a district that Republicans are going to win safely anyway. He's not been. It's been sort of under the radar. Even though Trump is doing better than his Senate candidates, the House candidates much more have tried to carve out their own identity, because Republicans are trying to defend a lot of incumbents who won in 22. Or 1 in 20 are trying to hold on, and they've been more separated. Don Bacon, for example, has not been campaigning with J.D. Vance in Nebraska, and that's one pretty early in the night. If Democrats are not beating Don Bacon in Omaha, they're really not having a good election. But they're overall thinking they're also close. They were excited by the Iowa poll in particular because it suggests they might win 2 seats in Iowa where they thought they'd win none. They know they're going to lose 3 seats in North Carolina because Republicans redrew the map there to blow out these 3 Democratic seats. One of the guys is running for Attorney General. One's retiring. One's running for something next cycle. He doesn't know yet. So it is going to be, if the polling is accurate, in the 2020s for either party, Democrats could get the advantage. We were just talking how there's not a lot of ticket splitting, or I need to strategically vote for this party to keep the other party from getting everything. And also, Democrats locally are running, I wouldn't say moderate races, but they are running on, my opponent wants to keep abortion illegal. My opponent wants to cut taxes and fund Social Security cuts for the rich. They're all running on the basic 2012 Democratic, I wouldn't even say populist, just normal Democratic messaging. But yeah, it'll be, I don't think we'll know if it's close who won the House for probably a week, not because of anything crazy happening in Pennsylvania or those states, but because of California just taking forever to count, Arizona taking an extra week to count. So I would look, if somebody's saying who's going to control the House, there's a couple of seats early in the night, like in South Central, Southeast Pennsylvania, Scott Perry. If Scott Perry is able to hold on there against a very good Democrat, I think you'll have a lot of people saying, "Oh, it looks like Republicans are fine. They probably held the House." And if they're losing any of their far right incumbents who are in swing seats, then that suggests that Democrats are probably able to do that 4 or 5 or 6 places and win the majority.
Where else? I mean, in Pennsylvania, Scott Perry. Who else should we be keeping an eye on in terms of the House?
Yeah, so early in the night again, the Virginia 7th District, where Abigail Spanberger is leaving to run for governor, and Eugene Vindman is the Democrat, and he's the best fundraiser in the country in the House races. He got lucky because the New York Times uncovered his opponent, who's single and unmarried, had very weird campaign ads that were showing him with a random family that's not his.
That's the guy.
Yeah, that's the guy. And so that's one. It's like, okay. Because there were questions about Vindman's military service, and he's not a natural candidate. He's not terrible, but he's not like he got famous during the Ukraine impeachment. He's not like the kind of Democrat who usually wins in Virginia, where they're rise through the ranks and then run for something. If that one is not a Democratic win, because that would come in pretty early. That's got not the closest DC suburbs, but sort of the DC exurbs that have been changing a lot, like Stafford County. Biden was able to win that. Glenn Youngkin won it by 10 points, but it's all in that district. And I'd say Virginia 7 pretty early on. Okay, how is this going for Democrats? New Hampshire's districts, both of them, we don't know exactly why the Trump campaign there. I believe that they probably had some data that says it's within 5 points to send somebody up, and they sent Vance up. But that will tell you there's not that much to win in New England. But I'll tell you if the Biden margins in New England are holding. Same thing with Maine's 2nd district. That is most of Maine. So 1st district is like Portland and the towns you could drive up to pretty quickly from Boston. The 2nd is most of rural Maine that has gone for Trump in every election. That has an incumbent Democrat who's run ahead of Trump in every election because he got elected in 2018. And that's one. If the polling has in that district has found this Democrat Jared Golden, who, to annoyance of some Democrats, has refused to say to vote for Harris, that he's winning even though Trump is winning the district. And if that's true, you're going to say, okay, things are holding from 2020. that's pretty good for Democrats. So that's one overall way to look at the election. If you look at some results and they look the same as they did in 2020, well, okay, that's going to be good. That's going to be good for Harris. And no Democrat thinks exactly that'll happen because they think there's going to be a shift in their direction in suburbs and shifts against them with working class voters, mostly compared to last time, mostly non-white voters. And so the first place is like Virginia 7th and Pennsylvania 8th. If that's not happening, then they're going to say, all right, that's worrisome. Like it turns out, like the Trump voter who is never polled actually matters, and they came out again, and they've changed the electorate. It's worse than we thought.
Is there a Republican district which has the same function for Republicans? Like if we're losing this one, we're in big trouble.
I'd say Virginia second early in the night. That's kind of the Tidewater region, and Democrats being Democrats just didn't try to gerrymander a bunch of safe seats in Virginia, even though they ran the whole state. They did nonpartisan redistricting. The result is that there's 2 competitive seats in Virginia compared to 0 for much of the country. So the second district, Republicans just really feel they should win that. They actually have been losing ground there as during Youngkin's term. But that's one. That's like Virginia Beach, Norfolk, those sorts of regions. Early in the night, if Republicans are in a fight for that race, I'm focusing on the ones that are in 7 o'clock. I mean, that I'd also say Anna Paulina Luna in Florida. Now, this is somebody who her district. This is the 13th.
Which district is that? The
13th district. So this is like Pinellas County. This was trending Democratic for years. Charlie Crist won it, and then DeSantis really re-gerrymandered Florida after 2021, and they made it more safely Republican. So it's now a Trump seat that covers Clearwater, St. Petersburg, those places. But this is one of those tests. Like Anna Paulina Luna is her entire identity is just being a Trump supporter. She's not been a very productive member of Congress. She's not said how she's going to vote on the abortion measure because it's probably passing her district by 10, 15 points. And so that question, if she is in trouble, what does that say? Now, if polling comes back and Anna Paulina Luna is winning by 10 points, that says they're not losing anywhere. And also, Florida Democrats are pretty lousy. They're not very good at winning stuff. But they have Whitney Fox, a very good Democratic candidate down there. And so, if you're looking at the Paulina Luna district in South Central Florida, if she is not clearly winning, then they're going to be a little bit worried.
That's helpful. That's helpful, Dave.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if there's anything else, but why do you think that? I mean, Trump went to New Mexico and Virginia. What do you have are people scratching their heads about that? He's gone to some places that have been, is it like an
Coachella,
attempt? Yeah. Is it an attempt to make it seem like he's confident, or does he have some type of business meeting and he's trying to sort of do a twofer on the flight? I mean, what is going on with that?
Well, the Coachella and New York Madison Square Garden rallies were partly about donors. At Madison Square Garden, there was a donor box that cost a lot of money, which that'll be fun. If he does end up losing, it'll be fun to check in with people who paid a ton of money to be at the event that hurt Trump in the final stretch.
Right.
Those part of it is the storyline because again, I'm doing this sort of bloodless. What time will you know the winner analysis? Because I think it still matters, but. The premise of the Trump campaign is that he will win the election. If he doesn't win the election, it was stolen. And so anything he can do that says, I've got so much momentum that I'm changing the electorate. There's places that people never thought we could win, and now we're going to win them. He's been obsessed with saying he won California for years. And in 2016, He said that he basically won it, except it was illegal aliens voting. So that's part of it, is just saying, let's say it's clear at 10 o'clock that the election is not going for Trump because it's very close in Pennsylvania and Michigan, but he's down. They would say, like, how could a candidate getting this much support or in Coachella, how could this be happening? The reason I don't think, beyond it not being true, is going to be that successful is because, in 2020, he was running against Joe Biden, who was not building crowds because of COVID and because he couldn't build crowds. In 2016, he was running against Hillary Clinton, who couldn't build crowds. She did the final week because she had big special guests, but he's been running against Harris, who is filling the same arenas that he campaigns in, often with a bigger crowd.
Yep.
And so I don't think it's been, as a narrative builder, I don't think it's been very successful at all. But that's why he's doing it.
Dave Weigel, politics writer at Semafor, author of the Americana newsletter. Where are you going to spend election day eve? Are you traveling around, or you just basically hang out in the office and then watch like the rest of us?
Yeah, this year I'll actually be in the office. The campaign team is, I should say, like the campaign coverage team at Semafor are in a few different places. You got some that are at victory parties. I will be in the office doing calls, and I've got not that special. I mean, I kind of try to publish everything I do as soon as I figure it out. So if you read our coverage, I have my list of which targeted places to watch. But yeah, I'm gonna be in DC as stuff goes down. There's already, as in 2020, there is people like boarding up stuff around the White House. I don't know why I'm not that worried about it. I'm really not about the results of the election, but I think that the vibe in the city is very different than it was 4 years ago.
Interesting. Dave Weigel, always a pleasure. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.